You're playing with your dog. Things are good. She's excited, you're excited, there's a toy involved, everyone is happy. And then, right in the middle of it, she sneezes. Maybe once, maybe 3 times in a row. You probably said, "Bless you." Maybe you laughed. Maybe you wondered for a second if she was getting sick. And then you kept playing. What you didn't know, what almost no one knows, is that she wasn't sneezing because of dust. She wasn't sneezing because something tickled her nose. She wasn't having an allergy attack. She was talking to you. That sneeze meant something specific. It was aimed directly at you. And if you missed it, which almost everyone does, you missed one of the clearest things she has ever said to your face. Here's what we tell ourselves about play. We think dogs play because they're happy. We think the barking, the jumping, the running, the biting, it's all just excitement, energy, fun. We think play is the simple part of dog behavior.
The part that doesn't need analysis. The part where we get to stop thinking and just enjoy ourselves. But here's what that story costs us. When we treat play as simple, we stop paying attention during it. We throw the toy, we run around, we roughhouse, and we walk straight past the entire conversation happening in parallel. Because play in dogs is not the absence of communication. It is one of the most communication-dense activities dogs engage in. Every moment of it is negotiated in real time through a stream of signals that most owners never learn to read. And the sneeze, the thing you blessed her for, sits close to the center of that stream. Let's start with something that will reframe everything else. In 2017, a team of researchers led by Rena Walker at Brown University published a study in Proceedings of the Royal Society B on African wild dogs. They were watching what happens before a pack decides to get up and hunt. What they found was startling. The dogs gathered in what researchers call a rally, a high-energy greeting ceremony. And during that rally, individual dogs would sneeze. The sneezes weren't noise, they were counted. The more sneezes recorded during a rally, the more likely the pack was to actually move off and hunt. Below a certain number, the rally dissolved and everyone lay back down. The sneeze functioned as a vote. That's a wild canid, in the field, using a sneeze as a deliberate social signal. Not a reflex, not dust. Information, transmitted between animals, changing what the group does next. Your dog is not an African wild dog, but she shares the same signaling ancestry, and when she sneezes at you in the middle of a play session, she is drawing on the same evolutionary toolkit. So what is she saying? Turid Rugaas, the Norwegian behaviorist who spent decades observing how dogs manage social tension, gave a name to this category of behavior: calming signals. These are small, specific actions: yawning, looking away, licking the nose, slowing down, sneezing, that dogs produce to lower the emotional temperature of an interaction and signal peaceful intent. The sneeze during play is one of the clearest examples. When play starts to climb, when the energy escalates, when the mouthing gets harder, when the arousal approaches the line where fun could tip into something else, a dog will sneeze. It's a reset button. It says, "We're still playing. I'm not threatening you. Let's bring this back down." In the next few minutes, we're going to cover 3 things. First, why the line between play and real conflict is thinner than most owners realize, and what that means for what's happening in her body. Second, what other signals she's been sending during play that you've walked right past. Third, what happens when you start responding to them, and why it changes the relationship well beyond playtime. Let's start with what play actually is. Play in mammals is not a simple state. It's high-arousal activity that runs on many of the same neural and physical systems as real fighting and real hunting. The biting during play uses the same muscles as a real bite. The chasing uses the same machinery as a real pursuit. The body does not fully distinguish between the two, which means play carries risk. Not the risk that your dog will suddenly turn on you, but the risk that signals get crossed, that one participant escalates past the point the other intended, that excitement shifts into something sharper, faster than either of them planned. Dogs know this. It's why they evolved an elaborate system specifically for managing play, for keeping play recognizable as play, for flagging when it's getting too hot, for renegotiating the terms mid-game. Marc Bekoff, the behavioral ecologist who spent much of his career studying play in canids, documented this in detail across decades of fieldwork with dogs, wolves, and coyotes. His central finding was that play is governed by rules, and that animals who break those rules get excluded from future play. Bekoff described the play bow as a kind of punctuation mark. It appears at the start of play to say what follows is not serious, and it reappears in the middle, immediately after any action that could be misread. Bite too hard, and the bow follows. The bow is an apology and a clarification at the same time. This matters because it establishes something important. Dogs are not just emoting during play. They are actively managing it. Nicholas Dodman, the veterinary behaviorist at Tufts University, saw the flip side of this in clinical practice. Dogs who arrived at his clinic with play that escalated into genuine conflict were very often dogs with impoverished early socialization, dogs who hadn't spent enough time playing with other dogs during the window when these rules get learned. The signals weren't decorative. They were load-bearing.
And the dogs who never learned them got into trouble. So what else has she been telling you? There's the play bow itself, front legs down, rear end up. Most owners recognize this as an invitation. Fewer know it also appears mid-play, and that mid-play, it means something more specific. I want to continue, but let's reset first. There's the play face, open mouth, loose jaw, soft eyes. It's visually close to a threat display, and physically very different. The jaw is relaxed rather than tense. The gaze is warm rather than hard. There's self-handicapping. A bigger dog dropping to the ground, rolling over, letting a smaller dog pin her. Bekoff documented this extensively. It signals, I am choosing not to use my advantage. Watch me choose it. There's the sudden pause where she stops, looks at you, and waits. Not tired, not asking for a treat. Checking in. Confirming that the two of you are still reading the same script. And there's the sneeze. Sometimes once, sometimes in clusters.
Reliably at moments when the arousal is climbing. Now, what happens when these signals go unread? She doesn't give up immediately. She tries again. She sneezes again, bows again, pauses again, offers the same information in a slightly different shape. The message is still true, so she keeps sending it. But if it goes unanswered long enough, one of two things tends to happen. Either the intensity climbs past the point the signals can manage, and play ends somewhere neither of you intended, or, more commonly and more quietly, she stops offering them. She learns that signaling doesn't work here. What looks like a calmer dog is often a dog who has stopped trying to talk. Olga Kayerskaya, writing on modern dog psychology, puts it plainly. Dogs are communicating constantly. The failure is almost never on their side. They are speaking in the clearest language available to them. We simply haven't learned to listen. Here's what changes when you do. When you start reading the play sneeze as a signal rather than a reflex, you pause when she sneezes. You slow your movements. You soften. You give her the reset she asked for. And then, you watch what she does next. What she does next is almost always continue playing. Because the sneeze was never a request to stop. It was a request to recalibrate. And when you answer it, when you show her the signal landed, something shifts. She gets more expressive. More sneezes, more bows, more check-ins, more of the language she has. Because she has learned that somebody is on the other end of the conversation. One thing worth saying clearly, because it matters. Not every sneeze during play is a signal. Dogs sneeze when they inhale dust or grass. They sneeze when the nose wrinkles in a particular play expression and the position triggers a reflex. They sneeze from pure physical excitement with no communicative intent behind it at all. The difference is context and timing. A signal sneeze appears at a moment of escalation and is followed by a pause and a change in the energy of the game. A reflex sneeze appears randomly and changes nothing about what happens next. And separately from all of this, persistent sneezing outside of play, sneezing with discharge, sneezing with any trace of blood, or a sudden change in your dog's normal sneezing pattern is a veterinary question, not a behavioral one. Nasal irritants, dental problems, infections, and growths all present this way. Reading calming signals is not a substitute for a vet visit when something looks wrong. You were playing with your dog, and somewhere in the middle of it, she paused and sneezed and looked at you. She wasn't sick. She wasn't reacting to dust. She was speaking, in the language she has, the one her ancestors were already using around the edges of human firelight, tens of thousands of years before either of you got here. You said, "Bless you." Now you know what she actually said. The question was never whether she's been talking to you all this time. She has. The question is, what changes now that you can hear it?